What's up, guys? It's Casey Zelgman, aka the Fourth Sanderson Sister, coming at you with another Hocus Pocus 2 speculation video. Wow, so my notifications have been blowing up from you all lately, and I've been reading your comments and responding to as many as I can. Thank you all for the participation. This has actually been helping the YouTube algorithm bump my videos again from the damage I did by taking a year off. So, thank you, and keep it up! Now, as all of this is going through my head, I began noticing a big old trend among all of your thoughts, especially on my Sarah Sanderson video. And that trend is that many of you are really rooting for Sarah to flip sides and join the heroes in Hocus Pocus 2. So today, I'm going to share my thoughts on the possibility of this twist actually happening. So remember to drop a like and subscribe if you're new to my channel, and let's talk about Sarah Sanderson again. So let's dive into the traits that Sarah possesses that would make sense for her to swap sides. First off, she has a sense of childlike wonder to her, so she'd be fairly relatable to the protagonist. Her personality sees her being very fun and flirty and ditzy, but also fiercely loyal and observant, and she's got a really good memory. These latter two traits are portrayed several times throughout the first film.
Sarah! Sarah! We have a child.
Him!
Winnie, we'll make more potion because Winnie, we have the money.
Oil of boil and a dead man's nose.
Dead man's toes! Dead man's toes!
These traits are often overlooked by her sisters, as most of the time they find her to be a nuisance.
Oil of boil and a dead man's nose.
Dead man's toes!
She's trying to concentrate. No.
One other trait, and in my opinion, the most important, is her capacity to love. Sarah's flirty personality may play off as her just being extremely thirsty, but if we examine everything going on around her, it's more like a cry for help. Sarah is often seen flirting with men and getting their attention either for her sister's gain or her own. More times, it's the latter. She enjoys getting the attention from others, and that's why she does it so much. Her power is literally commanding the attention of every child in the vicinity, and I promise it would work on adults too. Why is this important to her capacity to love? I'm glad you asked. Because of what I said a moment ago, her doing all of this is a cry for help, specifically attention. Sarah is often the one shoved to the side and ignored unless she's useful to the current situation. So she does what she does to get attention and be noticed by other people. Annoying Winifred gets her noticed, and even though she's being hit, she's being acknowledged. It's not her fault that men notice her the most, but that plays into why she seeks them out so much. If one of our new heroes was to show her any sort of attention, especially kindness, that would grab her attention and make her think. Someone showing her even a little love would be enough to make her start thinking of going with those people. I promise you, if she'd been able to stay with Billy and they ran off together, she would have dropped everything else just to stay with the man she loved. Now, I wasn't going to reference the Hocus Pocus reunion because it really wasn't a public thing. It was a buy a ticket, watch it from your house in 2020. I wasn't going to reference it too much at all in my videos, if at all. But man, there was one thing that dealt with some character development, and it really grabbed my attention. It's where Billy retells his sordid love affair with Winifred and Sarah, and oh my gosh, it makes so much sense. Check this out.
Thou must believe it me. I never intended to hurt anyone. None of us did. Well, except maybe Winifred. Oh, she's a real witch, that one. Only 2 years ago, I was finally able to smile again. Literally. Thanks to Dr. Gould's farm. Can I say that? All right? A little shout out if? Oh, good. Gould's farm. Winifred. I disliked her, but she ensnared me with a love potion. And I confess, I did like the feeling, especially in my lower parts. Me father were a witch hunter, therefore emotionally unavailable, so I loved when Winnie invited me to her home. Oh, it was rapture to supper there. The spells, curses, conjures. Sarah. For Sarah, I felt the same things I felt for Winifred, but without the potion. Then one day on the village green, Sarah, bright as the daisies, smiled at me. Oh, and like a fish, I were hooked. We ran toward one another, embraced. I knocked her down. I was going a little too fast, should have been more cautious. But I knew it was true love. You see, with Sarah, I needeth no magic. Just for her to stop talking. Winifred discovered us in the stable, and she screamed at us in Latin the entire time we were getting dressed. 'Twas when Winnie and Sarah were hurling spells at each other that a rusty needle suddenly appeared out of thin air, and me mouth was sewn shut faster than I could say bad metaphor. And you know the rest. Gold's farb. But sweet Sarah, where she be now, I knoweth not. If you get her number, do a knave a favour.
If I was to take anything out of that reunion, it's this. I would personally consider this canon. But until it's confirmed by the lore itself, I'm afraid to really christen it that way. But it really makes sense as to why finding someone to show her real love is so important. If the right person did, I think Winifred might be in for a surprise. So why would these traits make her valuable to the heroes? Obviously, one reason they would want her is inside information. No question about that. Her observation skills would allow the heroes to make rapid-fire judgments as well as plans to thwart the other two. Her memory would allow her to bring up past actions and information that could make for snafus to her sister's plan. She'd also provide excellent exposition for the kids as to why she and her sisters became villains in the first place. That fierce loyalty, once earned, would also make her a very strong ally to combat the evil magic. But why should she turn on her family? The why is simple. She spent most of her life being abused. The circumstances for her flipping to the good side have been there the entire time. She's been neglected, emotionally abused, physically abused, used for her magic. I mean, the twist writes itself. If it had not been for Winifred influencing her ever since they lost Mother Sanderson, who I've talked about before, and I talk about in another video, Sarah probably would not have been a villain. So between Winifred's abusive behavior and Mary siding with Winifred more often than not, Sarah stands on her own most of the time. Flipping sides would provide her a window to gain some true comrades who value her existence as more than just a tool. Now that we've talked about the why, the reasons she would flip, and her traits, let's talk about this from the perspective of Disney Plus itself. Okay, so here's the thing. The likelihood of this actually happening in Hocus Pocus 2 is about 60-40, with 40 being the twist happening. If we look at Disney's recent history, we are seeing a lot more remakes and some villain redemption stories. Maleficent and Cruella being prime examples of villain redemption stories. Yeah, you guys weren't supposed to make me like a puppy killer, Disney, but gosh dang it, did I love Cruella. However, there's one singular villain to redeem in those films, except for maybe Jasper and Horace, but I digress. They were henchmen. I know they're villains, but they're henchmen. They're in a different role. Although if we look at the straight remakes, Gaston, Jafar, Scar, all of them stayed in the villain role. The Sanderson sisters have always been kind of an enigma in the Disney villain universe, as for a very long time, people didn't really put them in with Disney villains. A lot of time, people forget Disney made this movie because it's so dark. The collective term is often reserved for the animated movies and their corresponding baddies. Once the Disney World Hocus Pocus Spectacular came about in 2015, it actually put the sisters into a performance with those animated villains, and then they kind of joined them as equals. With that said, in tandem with our topic, I would like to think it is within the realm of possibility for one of the sisters to float over to the good side in the current fashion of villain redemption. However, the Sanderson sisters have always been viewed as a unit rather than three separate entities. Cruella is Cruella with or without her flunkies. Maleficent is Maleficent even without Diaval. Jafar is Jafar regardless of Iago, etc. But Sarah, Mary, and Winifred are three parts of one villainous unit. That's how they were introduced to us, that is how they stayed through the film, and as cool as it would be to see something like this character arc, I can't really see Disney pulling this off in a way that would be satisfactory. Odds are, if Sarah was to flip sides during the movie, she probably wouldn't live happily ever after. I'd be willing to bet that she'd be sacrificing herself to end her sister's reign of terror and, while redeemed, will still die at the end of the movie. Or it could be a fake out designed to gain the kids' trust, and then at the last second she would double cross them. Whether that would be Winifred's plan or Sarah's own, now that's debatable. All of this being said, going back to the unit thing, I just can't see Disney doing this for this film. As much as I would like for such a thing to happen, I've written my own fanfics about it several times, that would be character development well beyond one sequel. That would be like a movie 3 revelation rather than a sequel. And I think we'd be pushing it if we went for 3 Hocus Pocuses. And I'm saying that as a diehard fan. Stories like that really need time to take off, especially when the story at hand is two-sided. Like I've said before, you have 2 stories happening simultaneously within Hocus Pocus. The kids' half and the witches' half. The seeds for a side flip would have to be made really obvious in the first minutes of Hocus Pocus 2, which wouldn't leave much time for our usual Sanderson sister shenanigans. So if Disney wants to make another Hocus Pocus, they're looking at elements from the first one that keeps us going back. As divided as that family is between the lines, on the surface, we just have 3 goofy witch sisters who want to live forever. One other key element I think would be necessary for this twist is very easy. It's Mary. Mary would have to jump ship too for Sarah to do it. Now it could be Sarah's idea to flip. Have one of those Padme and Anakin talks by asking, do you ever feel like we're on the wrong side? And then go from there. This would definitely have to be a duo flip rather than a solo. Even if Sarah was to go by herself, Mary would have to follow not long after. That would be essential for this to go off correctly and satisfactorily. I don't think that's a word. It might be. We'll see. However, overall, I just can't see this happening as much as I would really, really like to see it happen. The thing is, this is going to be a kid's movie just like the first one. It doesn't need any big plot twist to be great as long as they just give us what we want, which is Hocus Pocus. Do I want to see Sarah flip sides like you guys do? Lord, yes, but I think it would take more story to really develop that well. I'm not saying that they don't have the skills to pull something off like that, of that caliber, and do it well. I'm just thinking that the likelihood of them doing it is low for some of the reasons I mentioned above. But that 40% chance of happening could hold promise. Well, that about wraps it up for this video. What do you all think? Do you think Disney will pull off this plot twist or not? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, stay tuned for more Hocus Pocus 2 speculation and other Hocus Pocus 2 related content, as well as regular Hocus Pocus related content. If you're new to this channel, please drop a like and subscribe if you haven't. It's free, it helps me, and what helps me helps you guys get more great content. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Casey Zogelman, aka the 4th Sanderson sister, and I'll see you later.